Having an angel on the team is always a good thing, but when it comes to X-Men, things are not that simple. Because a wealthy golden-haired mutant with real feathered wings sounds perfect on paper, but under the halo, Warren Worthington III is a complicated being. And today we will be looking into his anatomy, because when I tell you that he has one of the darkest anatomies in the franchise, I mean it. So without further ado, let's get down to business. Who was Warren Worthington III before he became Angel? Let's start at the very beginning, shall we? Warren Kenneth Worthington III was born into one of America's wealthiest families in Centerport, Long Island, New York. He was the only son of businessman Warren Worthington Jr. and his wife Catherine. So, as you can guess, he grew up privileged, spoiled, and sheltered. But despite all of that, he had a genuine impulse to do the right thing when it mattered, which is definitely uncommon when you think about which social class he comes from. Anyway, the first sign of his mutation showed up when he was a teenager at the private boarding school, Phillips Academy, Exeter. Warren discovered a pair of white feathered wings growing from his back, and he was forced to bind them down and hide them from his classmates and his family for fear of exposure. And when you add that onto the fact that he's going through puberty, you can imagine what hell he is stuck in. And he doesn't even know what is going to happen to him if he tells people what is happening to him. But this secrecy didn't last for long, because soon a fire broke out in his dormitory. Warren grabbed a spare angel costume from a school prop room and used it to disguise his wings and flew through the flames to save his trapped roommates. He did the single most heroic act a teenager could do, and he did so while making the mutation that allows him to save everyone a Halloween accessory. But hey, that was the night that created the angel image that would stay with him for the rest of his life. Despite all the worries, doing the right thing feels good. And inspired by the rescue, Warren began operating alone as a costumed crime fighter, calling himself the Avenging Angel, a solo vigilante with no team, no proper training, fueled by what he thought was the right thing to do. Eventually, Professor Charles Xavier tracked him down and recruited him as one of the 5 founding members of the X-Men in 1963's X-Men #1, at which point he shortened his codename to simply Angel. I think it is truly interesting the fact that Warren went with this lifestyle, because he is arguably the one member who could have hidden who he was, binding his wings and disappearing into the life that he grew up in. But he never did, and that's admirable. What does Warren's body actually do to fly? Warren Worthington III's baseline anatomy is already remarkable. His mutation gave him a pair of large feathered wings that have a wingspan of roughly 16 feet, supported by a highly flexible skeletal structure that allows him to fold the wings flat enough to conceal them under clothing. When he starts flying, his average speed is 70 miles per hour. He can sustain up to 150 miles per hour without a tailwind for about half an hour, and when he does a diving swoop, he can reach up to 180 miles per hour. His body also produces below average fatigue toxins, so he can fly for about 12 hours before he gets tired. He is literally a long-haul commercial flight while being the engine himself. Now, I know what you are thinking. How could he fly so long if his bones are like ours? Well, they aren't. His bones are hollow and lightweight like a bird's. His eyes are also adapted to withstand high-speed winds that would injure an ordinary person's eyes. He also has a specialized respiratory membrane that can extract oxygen from the air more efficiently at high velocity and altitude, which is what lets him function normally even when he is in the clouds. Well, usually he stays below the clouds, around 6,500 feet, but when he needs to, he can climb to 10,000 feet with no effort, and when push comes to shove, he can go up to 29,000 feet. He can also carry about 200 additional pounds beyond his own body weight. So yes, Angel can very well swoop down and pick up one of his teammates without any issues. And then we have the healing. His blood carries this accelerated healing factor that can literally mend broken bones within days. It can also heal others if he does a direct blood transfusion, but there's a small catch about that. They need to have compatible blood types. Is Warren descended from a literal race of angel mutants? With all the things I just told you about, it is hard to think that this was the cause of just one mutation, right? Well, for decades, that's the only explanation we had. Then in the early 2000s, Chuck Austen gave us Uncanny X-Men issue 431 and 433, where he gave us Shayarafim, the ancient race of angel-like mutants. They were active during biblical times, basically reframing everything we know about Warren into inherited traits from the lost bloodline instead of normal mutations. The mythology Austin brought around it was this. The Sheraphim were said to have fought a holy war against the demonic-looking Nephim, who were a rival mutant subspecies, and these Nephim were led by Azazel, yes, the biological father of Nightcrawler. According to this retcon, the angelic faction won that war and banished their enemies to the Brimstone dimension, and that's why Nightcrawler has his own demonic appearance. Basically, with one story, the entire relationship between Warren and Kurt Wagner is changed. If we take the lineage at face value, Warren's healing factor and wings are resurfacing from a bloodline that literally went to war with the bloodline of one of his teammates. Now, this lineage business is treated inconsistently by later writers and has never fully been confirmed as hard-settled canon. It is basically one of the many in-universe explanations, but say what you want, this is a pretty nifty little idea. Warren spent his entire life being described in religious terms he never asked for, and suddenly, it's a fact, which makes all of his later transformations into a demon or a horseman and eventual god of extinction even more iconic. How did the X-Men's Angel lose his wings? By the mid-1980s, Warren was basically a big deal. He joined hands with the other 4 original X-Men members and formed X-Factor. X-Factor, for those who don't know, was an organization that secretly helped mutants while posing as mutant hunters. This double life basically put him in the path of one of the darkest crossovers Marvel has given us. In the 9th through 11th issue of X-Factor, which is set during the 1986 Mutant Massacre, the Marauders, this team of assassins secretly working for Mr. Sinister, were sent to exterminate the Morlocks, this community of mutants living in the tunnels under New York City. X-Factor waded into the massacre trying to help, and here Marauder Harpoon impaled him and mangled his wings while Blockbuster crushed the wings further. He was rescued by Thor, but the damage was done. The aftermath is horrifying because Warren's wings end up developing gangrene as a result of this attack. And X-Factor's own public relations administrator, Cameron Hodge, manipulates the situation completely. See, Hodge actually hates mutants, and seeing Angel down, he basically gets a court order declaring that Warren is incompetent and basically cuts the wings out surgically without Warren's consent in the 14th and 15th issue of X-Factor. Hodge may frame it as a rescue, but it is actually a violation. And obviously, Warren crashes out. He was always connected to the sky, and suddenly he couldn't fly anymore. So he ran out of the hospital and stole his own private jet to fly high. Now, Hodge tampered with the jet, and the plane explodes moments after takeoff, and this whole incident is said to be a suicide attempt by Hodge, when really it wasn't. It was a cold-blooded murder, all done by Warren's college roommate, who Warren always vouched for. Now, everyone thought that Warren Worthington III was dead, but what they did not know was that Apocalypse had secretly extracted him from the wreckage moments before. Honestly, if he had turned into a villain now, it would make so much sense. Warren just got betrayed by someone he trusted fully. He doesn't even need Apocalypse to go to the dark side. What did Apocalypse actually build when he made Archangel? Warren was understandably grief-stricken and wingless when Apocalypse rescued him. When Apocalypse offered him wings if he became his horseman of death, Warren accepted without much complaint. Apocalypse then proceeded to rewrite him permanently genetically. He implanted celestial-derived techno-organic cells into Warren's body, turning his skin a deep blue and growing a set of biometallic, retractable metal wings with razor-sharp edges capable of firing feather-shaped flechettes as weapons. Basically, Apocalypse took all the softness that Warren had and made him completely dangerous. He builds Angel up from a cellular level. The techno-organic cells embed themselves in Warren's system indefinitely, and even later, even when he has regrown natural feathers, under the surface there is always that techno-organic edge. With the right trigger, Angel will turn into Archangel. What is Archangel's complete combat toolkit? Once the transformation is done, Angel is a weapon. His toolkit literally has 4 whole systems that you can distinguish easily. For one, you have the biometallic wing with blades sharp enough to slide through flesh and metal. Then you have the flechettes that can be thrown and used as a weapon that comes with paralyzing neurotoxin on the tips. He still has the healing factor, but it is stronger now as he is working with a body that gets hurt far more often. And lastly, he has an enhanced psychic resistance that is strong enough to banish the telepathic probing of Psylocke from his own mind, and even withstand a direct astral assault from the Shadow King, both of whom are very dangerous psychic threats in the Marvel Universe. During the Dark Angel saga, where he is Apocalypse's heir, his biometallic armor basically becomes close to invulnerable, and his psychic defenses grow strong enough to not only block telepathic attacks, but also reflect them back to his attackers. As Archangel, Warren is basically comparable to every major X-Men character. Like, his flight matches Storm, his blades are almost like Wolverine's claws, and his poison can literally bypass healing factors, as he's the only one immune to it. Usually when a hero gets a villain's powers layered on top of their own, the result is stronger, but you can tell it is additive. Archangel is more purposeful than just an addition, if that makes sense. Apocalypse built Warren to specifically withstand the people he might have to fight. Now, keep in mind, Archangel's abilities aren't fixed. Based on the era and the writer, his biometallic wings can cut through steel, or even be invulnerable and act like armor. Either Archangel is a badass, and every writer treated him as that. How did Angel almost become the next Apocalypse? The Archangel transformation was pretty mind-blowing, but there was something else underneath it that deserves its own moment. In Rick Remender's Uncanny X-Force run of 2011, we learned that when Apocalypse made Warren his Horseman of Death, he also implanted something known as a Death Seed. This is a biological device that grants basically a persona named Death, and it marks the recipient as a candidate to eventually become Apocalypse's own successor. Warren has been carrying the seed of a potential apocalypse in his body the entire time without knowing. Then, years later, when the death of a young clone of Apocalypse happened, the Death Seed in Warren got triggered, and the Ascension protocol started. His mind was reshaped into a mirror of Apocalypse himself, basically becoming more violent and alien as time went by. Even before his teammates actually realized what was happening, Warren completely transformed into a new Apocalypse, allied himself with Clan Akaba, gathered his own horsemen, and set in motion a plan to use a celestial life seed to wipe out, get this, all life on Earth. Yeah, he wanted to restart evolution again, as per his own design. When I tell you this is the most evil he could have been, I mean it. And it is so sad, because the Death Seed has been inside him the entire time, while he thought he was finally getting away from evil. How do you actually kill an ascended Apocalypse? Stopping a god-tier Warren Worthington is a task. The X-Force has to fight through his forces to stop him from killing everyone. Psylocke, who is literally his longtime love interest, had to stab him with the celestial life seed I told you guys about to stop the Death Seed induced transformation. Now, what the celestial life seed did was it destroyed both his original personality and the Archangel persona entirely, basically regrowing his body around a completely new set of abilities and a new mind. This Warren has a new version, and writer Rick Remender made sure you knew that. He went on record and said that Warren is dead, his soul died, his mind died, and the entity in front of us has no memory of his friends and relationships or history. This was sadly the only way to stop Archangel from becoming the new Apocalypse, and honestly, I do think that Warren would have gone for this choice too. What was Archangel's single greatest feat of power? If you are looking for the moment that proves just how dangerous Warren actually became, you have to look at the Dark Angel saga. He threatened to extinguish all life on Earth and restart evolution entirely on his own terms, as an active plan. And as a test run of his new power, Warren's forces literally destroyed an entire Montana town, creating an irradiated wasteland, later known as Tabula Rasa. This is a real lasting Marvel geography that he created, and even to this day it is referenced in X-Men stories. For a character whose base ability is just flight, Warren truly brought a lot of other things to the table. What is Warren's most recent fall from grace? On Krakoa, Warren was co-CXO of X-Corps alongside Monet St. Croix. He was repeatedly killed and resurrected by the Five, and eventually he confronted his old master, Apocalypse, during X of Swords. While this was a moment of peace, this did not last long because, you know, Fall of X. During the Fall of X arc, Krakoa fell and the anti-mutant organization Orchis tainted the mutant medicines produced by Warren's own company, X-Corp, and used it against mutant kind at large. Not only that, in the chaos that follows, Warren is captured by the Orchis forces. Then, in Dark X-Men number 2, we found out that the Goblin Queen, you know, the demonically possessed variant of Madeline Pryor who was being held by Orchis, yeah, she transformed Warren into a new version of Archangel. best described as Death himself with pitch-black metal wings and a bleeding skull-like head in place of his face. And then Orcus used this new Warren to slaughter a group of Morlock mutants, basically using one of the founding members of the X-Men and turning it into an instrument against the very kind of people he wanted to protect. Warren was literally forced into direct conflict with his own teammates while under Orcus and the Goblin Queen's control, and was eventually killed by Dark X-Man Gambit to stop Warren's rampage. Warren was later resurrected in the White-Hot Room by the Five when Orcus was eventually defeated. Apocalypse offered Archangel a position as his favorite heir in shaping mutantKind's future, which is a very fitting full-circle echo of the very role Apocalypse first forced on him decades earlier. It is really sad that even though Warren has built his life up since his mutant powers came into full potential, every now and again his body is reduced to be weaponized by someone else, other than him, be it politically or physically. It is quite sad, and I will die on this hill when I say he deserved better. How does the X-Men 97 version compare to the comics? The animated timeline compresses Warren's decades of comic history, because obviously they do, but it manages to hit all the same emotional beats. We see his origin story across X-Men the Animated Series Season 1's Come the Apocalypse, with a later cameo in the Season 4 Beyond Good and Evil arc, with Apocalypse and Mystique, who was posing as a scientist offering a mutant cure, only to turn Warren into a horseman of death. Then the show takes a different route, giving him a gentler path. Rather than the life seed erasing his mind and whatnot, animated Warren breaks free of the death persona with direct help from Rogue, who drains the persona out of him using her powers. And in the 2024 Revival series, his first appearance so far has been a background cameo, gliding over the Hellfire Gala in Genosha during the first season. And in the second season, we get him as Archangel, and he joins the X-Force with Psylocke and Cable. Here he is voiced by Christopher Barger, who gives a stellar performance as Angel. It is not much, but I am holding on to hope that eventually, when the time is right, we will probably get more exploration of his character in the X-Men 97 series, because there is a great story to see there. Warren Worthington is always going to be X-Men's Angel, even when he has to rebuild his wings from metal and poison. He has gone through hell and is returned stronger each time. He is truly a character worth vying for if you want to keep an eye out for someone a little underrated. Let me know in the comments what took you by surprise about his anatomy. Was it the flechettes or was it the neurotoxin? For me, it was the neurotoxin, to be honest. Like and subscribe as always, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!